Sit down if you want to.
Right in the middle of what's going on.
I'm in the middle of an interrogation.
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
The middle children of history, man.
Middle of the day, Alfred.
Please, take a seat there.
Right now, I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Stop the middle, it's a basic!
Meeting in the middle.
Like.
They fought for the freedom of
Middle.
the middle of a middle.
In the middle of a war! Friggin' ridiculous!
Why don't we have a seat and talk it over?
No! Not the middle seat!
It's time to take a trip into space and enjoy a brand new episode of the Middle Seats podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the best seat in the house for all things movies and entertainment. I'm the captain of this show, Andrew Auger. Let's meet my co-pilots. It's absolutely marvelous being in a room with him, Mr. Nate Lungarini.
How's it going, everybody? Good to be back. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And he's the full... you gotta let me get the punchline out, man, first. He's the Thor of the Dark World of my life, Mr. Jake Hensler.
Oh, that's even worse than what I was expecting.
What did you think I was going with?
I thought you were going to say something about how I'm, like, ugly like a Skrull or something.
Oh, that just sounds mean.
I'd rather that.
I'm not unnecessarily cruel like that.
No, you gave me Thor the Dark World. Your least favorite out of 21 Marvel
worse.
movies.
Yeah, true.
Great.
Anyway, if you are just joining us for the first time, which is very entirely possible because we haven't been recording for a while, but it's good to be back. The Middle Seats is a show divided into 3 segments. Our first segment, we kind of just pitch a topic and just go with it, like you talk in the lobby of a movie theater with lobby talk. Then go into the biggest news items of the week, depending on what it is. It could be a big trailer, it could be a big discussion, hot debate, big casting thing. We kind of have one of each this week. And then we get into our feature review of the week, first with a non-spoiler section, then with a spoiler section. This week it is of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's latest feature, Captain Marvel. If you're listening to this on YouTube right now, you're listening to the Lobby Talk and News segment. If you would like to listen to the Captain Marvel review, that's going to be in a separate video. You can find that on our channel. If you ever want to skip ahead to certain stories or certain things, there are time codes in the descriptions. Please don't be afraid to skip around, though we want to spend all the time with you as possible. A couple of other house cleaning things. We're now on Spotify and Stitcher. That adds to our repertoire of audio outlets that you can listen to us to. We're already on YouTube, of course. We're on SoundCloud and iTunes.
We're everywhere.
So you have no excuse not to listen to us.
Exactly. You can listen to us anytime, anywhere. And if you don't already, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be sharing links and updates and everything on those places. 3 segments, 2 parts, 1 show, no BS. Welcome to the Middle Seats podcast, presented by no sponsor. But we'll get one eventually. So, guys, I think I've gotten everything out of the way that I wanted to get through. It kind of feels like a new season, doesn't it?
A little soft reboot.
Yeah, like a soft reboot. I like that. We retconned the past. This is the X-Men Days of Future Past of the Middle Seats podcast.
Oh, good choice. I like that movie.
Yeah, that was pretty good, right? Anyway, let's get into lobby talk.
Let's all go to the lobby.
You're in the lobby? What do you look like?
I will blow up the block before you can make the lobby.
So this week's Lobby Talk is about Antonio Brown being traded to the Raiders. Nate, what do you think?
Sports ball. Go.
JK, go ahead.
So, guys, this topic I'm proposing today is kind of based off of some news that was recently making its rounds around the internet. And that's the fact that there is, I believe, one Blockbuster Video left in the entire world. Blockbuster Video was the place to be, especially as a movie fan. You'd go there, you would rent these things called is it DVDs? Is that it? I think it's that. And then VHs, or VHS, as I've heard them also be called. And you would rent them, and you would then have to give them back to some guy in a blue sweater.
Who was always less than thrilled.
And possibly been watching Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure a little too much. But anyway, Blockbuster Video, it was the place to be for a long time as a movie fan. And then Netflix came and basically just kicked it to the curb. Hulu helped out. HBO set it on fire. Here we are. The streaming wars are going on right now, and physical media is kind of a dying art. So therefore, Blockbusters have been closing all over the world. But that just got me nostalgic and thinking, like, what were the movies that we would either rent on VHS or we owned on VHS when we were growing up that we just wore out so much that some of us even broke the VHS physical form? Like, you know those movies that you just play so many times that they just get worn out, or you don't rewind them correctly, or you rewind them sloppily. Remember rewinding things, like physically? Oh boy.
I remember being in charge of rewinding because my sisters didn't know how to work the buttons.
And so his technological competence began.
I was going to say, doesn't that make so much sense?
Yeah, now I get it. It really does.
At a young age, he seized it for himself.
Right, we have Nate edit because I'm his younger sisters who don't know how to use it.
Right, exactly. I posed this question to you guys earlier, and you guys have been thinking about it all day. What were the movies that had that kind of impression on you? Let's start with you, Jake.
I just kind of remember, and I double-checked with my mom just in case, but a lot of the movies, well, she was like, oh, Barney. And I'm like, Mom, that was when I was like 2 or 3. I grew out of that eventually. But I did watch a few Disney movies a lot. I watched Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Hercules, Tarzan, Robin Hood. Like, there were a few that I watched a lot, but I think the VHS I probably watched the most, I'd have to say Land Before Time. As a kid, Land Before Time was like a fresh new take on dinosaurs that wasn't Jurassic Park eating people. It was like family-friendly dinosaurs. And I loved it. I just watched it like... Honestly, I watched it until I shouldn't have been watching it anymore. Probably like, I don't know, 5th grade when I shouldn't have watched it anymore. I was still watching it.
It's funny to me that the family-friendly dinosaur movie still has like a very major death in the first like 20-25 minutes that could traumatize any child.
It's true.
I think it's more a statement on dinosaurs. That movie had like 13 sequels, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't get to all of them, but I watched 1 and 2 a lot, and then I think I watched the next couple, and then that was it.
You know which one I watched a lot? Like number 11, when everything freezes and they all ostensibly should die but somehow survive.
Oh, I probably saw that one.
I think I saw that movie when I was too old because I wasn't really over the moon about it like a lot of kids nostalgically growing up were. Because I saw it probably like for the first time when I was 12 or 13. And I was like, wow, this Triceratops is really annoying. Like, I really don't like her. And she sunk the whole movie for me.
Actually, I almost unintentionally had this kid bullied hard on the high school track team. He kind of had like a unique face and a long neck, and I kind of out of nowhere was like, he kind of looks like Littlefoot, and the entire team just stuck with it.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, man, I'm sorry,
How do you
Kevin.
accidentally bully someone?
I didn't mean for it to get so popular, but it did stick.
What a disaster.
So, yeah, I guess Land Before Time really did shape me up until my high school years.
Nate, what's your choice?
Alrighty. There's a couple different options here. I think the ones that I had to compromise and watch with my sisters the most often was Beauty and the Beast, which my dad can quote word for word because he sat through and watched most of it with us every single time. And Shrek, I think, was the other popular one between the three of us. But I think one I got to pick, my personal favorite, was actually the Digimon movie.
I was expecting you to say another Mon.
Yeah, I watched that first Pokemon movie a lot also, but Nate, I am beyond shocked.
Maybe controversial, as I've already labeled myself as the Pokemon fan, but I've never been a huge fan of the show, mostly because I find Ash Ketchum incredibly annoying. So even like the movie with Mewtwo and Lugia and all the like classic ones, I'm not huge fans of just because I find Ash incredibly cringy. The Digimon movie, on the other hand, has giant freaking dragons and space lasers and all this other cool stuff. They go into the internet and fight these awesome things, and the two coolest Digimon combine into this Ultra Digimon in the mid-finale of the movie. It's effectively 2 movies in one. I've never watched much of anything of the actual Digimon show, but I had this VHS, and I just remember plugging it into the VCR so often. One other little side note, that movie also featured an end credits to All-Star, which was also featured in Shrek.
Oh,
and
man.
I think it's safe to say young me unironically liked the song, which is kind of terrifying looking back at now.
I am so shocked by this pick. I feel like this is going to break the middle seats internet. It's like the movie Interview when Eminem comes out as gay and people like freak out. This is like the same thing.
Where
Like,
he
I don't
does
know
it
how to
like
take
really
this.
subtly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to take this. Nate's been hiding this his whole life.
Well, Nate, I have a follow-up question for you. Have you
Sure.
seen any of the 15 sequels that apparently exist, according to Wikipedia?
No. I honestly couldn't even tell you any of the Digimon's names. Like, I know they all end in Mon. Like, that's just their thing. But I think I just really, really liked the animation, really liked the monsters. That was just me as a kid.
Wow.
Well, you were right, Nate. No one was going to have that one. No crossover there.
Yeah.
Like you guys, I have a bigger one, and then I have a more obscure one. The big one is pretty obvious. We've kind of even talked about it on past podcasts. The Lion King is a movie that I watched probably 20, 25 times growing up. It was so bad. One time, my dad had to go to, like, the hospital. Not for anything, like, serious. I think he just had, like, a stomach bug or something. And we literally took the VHS on the road with our portable VHS, like, TV, watched it in the back seat as my dad, like, got recovered. That's how much we loved watching Lion King, my sister and I. That's the big one. And I feel like that's not controversial. Millions and millions of people wore that one out. One that randomly for me, and I think it was because it was one of the first movies I ever saw in theaters, and I was just like blown away by the fact that it exists, is oddly enough Stuart Little. Did you guys ever see the Stuart Little movie?
Yeah, actually that was one that I got at either Blockbuster or Hollywood Video. I remember that.
So we owned it. I think Nathan Lane played the cat, and the cat was like my favorite character, even though he was kind of sinister. I didn't really know who Michael J. Fox was, but that's pretty cool that he was the mouse. Hugh Laurie's the dad. It's written by M. Night Shyamalan. Even then I knew.
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah, you guys... Oh, wait. Wow.
I think that's his twist right there. The fact that he wrote the movie.
How does this never ever come up?
How do you fit that in conversation, Jake?
Is he uncredited on IMDb? I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, it's not uncredited. And Stuart Little came out the same year, like a couple of weeks after Sixth Sense.
M. Night, you okay?
Isn't that pretty funny? And, by the way, Stuart Little is directed by the same director as The Lion King, Rob Minkoff. It's just an enjoyable kids movie. It's pretty well done overall, actually.
I really remember the boat scene pretty fondly.
Oh, speaking of, you know what? You're jogging my memory. You know what I watched a lot on probably VHS? Cats and Dogs.
It's the exact same cat, I think.
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
probably what
It
jogged my
literally
memory.
is.
I watched that a lot.
Yeah, except that cat's voiced by Sean Hayes, so bad cat. That movie has a weird cast, too. Isn't, like, Alec Baldwin one of the dogs? Sean Hayes is the cat. Tobey Maguire is the lead.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Tobey Maguire is the main... This was pre-Spider-Man, too. They just hired Tobey Maguire off of his acting skills.
Yeah, I watched that a lot.
It's been fun taking this nostalgic trip with you guys. I mean, this was like going to blast in the past here and remembering some of these movies. Some that, I mean, I didn't have to remember Cats and Dogs, but anyway, that will do it for Lobby Talk tonight.
We have to cap that now.
We need to move on to the biggest news of the week.
And this just in, a Newsbreak special report.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
So guys, let's talk about the DCEU.
Again?
I know, but this is actually a pretty big one. Like, it's not even a minuscule story. So the state of the DCEU, of course, Aquaman did really well. We cared for it at varying degrees. Some of us liked it better than others. Shazam, at the time of recording, is set to be released in a couple of weeks. That's been getting some nice early buzz. That's good for them. But they've kind of, in the last couple of months, given us idea of what their next few films will be. Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn and a bunch of other female baddies. Wonder Woman 2, of course. There's a lot of movies coming out from the DCEU. They're kind of getting their stuff together.
There's like 7 different Joker movies being in production.
Yeah, true. I forgot that movie's coming this year. But one of the big ones that are surely going to make its way to theaters is Suicide Squad 2, or The Suicide Squad, as it's called, because they're cool now. Soft reboot, just like the middle seats.
Andrew, scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
How many letters are in the? THE? 3. 3 out of 10. There we go. But there are some things they're trying to turn the corner. James Gunn, he wrote and will direct Suicide Squad 2. The Suicide Squad, sorry.
Whatever you want to call it.
It really doesn't matter. But one of the big pieces that's going to be swapped out, Will Smith will not be returning as Deadshot. And especially with recent news coming out that this movie's plot is basically going to be centered around Deadshot. So he's obviously an important character. And they've replaced Will Smith with Idris Elba. So he can't be James Bond, but he can be a superhero. So that's pretty fun for him. Villain, quote unquote. You know what I mean. Anyway, this is a pretty big swap out because this is the main character of the franchise, and this is a big actor replacing another big actor right at the top of the franchise. And I'm sure we're seeing a lot of that shifting, especially when they have to recast Batman. But guys, what do you think of this replacement, and are you excited at all for the Suicide Squad? Nate, let's start with you.
Yeah, so the first initial comparison, just going through other superhero movies, is the swap from Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo for Avengers as the Hulk / Bruce Banner. But that was a very C-tier Marvel movie as they were just getting their feet off the ground.
Right.
And he wasn't the main character, per se, when he finally got his time to shine in Avengers. When people, especially fans, look back at Suicide Squad, they're going to point at Will Smith and Margot Robbie as the best parts of the movie. You're taking away one half of the only good ingredients from that stew, if you will. But then again, you're also replacing that person with Idris Elba, who's awesome. So I'm tentatively excited. I think DC has a fun out here, just if they embrace the comic booky aspect of it all. Not necessarily like pulling a Deadpool and flat out referencing, hey, you look different from when I last saw you. But they could definitely play to that degree, I think, a little bit. And most people won't bat an eye. I think it's a good move, because I don't think Will Smith is as marketable as he once was. We'll see how Aladdin does, obviously.
Foreshadowing. Jake?
I would love for anybody listening to comment on what kind of stew they think Suicide Squad is.
Probably trash, but...
A trash stew. I really have no idea what to expect from the Suicide Squad. The only reason that I might have hope is because they got James Gunn, who has obviously did very well with Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. He's obviously a very talented director and works well with ensemble cast, which is exactly what Suicide Squad needs. Replacing Will Smith, like Nate said, huge loss. But they got Idris Elba, who, even in not good movies, he's good. He's always good. He's always on. He's always got this crazy charm, cool charisma about him. I think that's a great choice if they have to replace Will Smith. But other than that, the first one was not a good movie. So I have no idea what to expect or where they would even go. But hopefully James Gunn can, redirect them in a good way. Because I don't often root for movies to fail, other than 50 Shades of Grey. So if James Gunn can do a good job and we can get a good Suicide Squad movie, then hey, okay.
Do you guys remember how excited we all were?
So much.
We were so excited. I did not want to hate that movie like I did. And the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, that wasn't good. And then I saw it again like 2 days later, and I was like, oh my God, what did they do?
Oh, no, I remember walking out of that theater livid. I did not need a second viewing, and I still haven't.
I just couldn't believe it. I was flabbergasted.
I remember coming home, and my mom came downstairs, and she was like, how was your movie? And I kind of paused for a second, and I was like, I'm looking for reasons to like it, and I'm coming up short.
Yeah.
And she was like, that doesn't sound good. I'm like, no, it's not.
But I think that is kind of for the best if they're going to be doing all this recasting stuff.
That's exactly my point. Yeah, that's where I was going with that, because it's like, if there's any movie in that universe that you can just nuke, that's the one.
Amen.
If you're going to recast a major role, this is less damaging than, say, recasting Batman, because Ben Affleck didn't realize what he was getting himself into. This is much less damaging, and this might be a little controversial, but Idris Elba's a better actor than Will Smith.
I agree hands down. I think that Idris Elba can rock the emotional scenes leagues better than Will Smith can. Like, Will Smith had that little backstory with his daughter, and it was just kind of hard to parse that through all, like, the sarcastic wit that Will Smith just has, period. Like, you can't shake it off. Idris Elba, he can act.
Right.
Would Idris Elba have been a better fit for a James Gunn-less Suicide Squad? And would Will Smith be a better fit for a James Gunn Suicide Squad? You know what I mean?
Ooh.
I'm throwing it out there. I'm not saying for sure. Idris Elba will do great in this role. I do think so. And I think this movie will be better. I'm not going to let myself fall into the trap again.
No, it has to earn it back.
Right, it has to earn it back.
DC has to have a good movie for me to trust them again.
Yeah.
We haven't had a great movie yet.
Well, we might find out in a couple weeks that might change when we're probably going to be talking about Shazam. But for now, let's move off of the DCEU. Let's move into a completely different topic here. Netflix. Of course, in the interim time between our last recording and this recording you're listening to right now, Netflix's Roma won a bunch of awards at the Academy Awards, but ultimately fell short of the main prize, losing to Green Book, which, I mean, that we don't have time to unpack all of that.
Yeah,
but yeah. Anyway, Netflix has been fighting for credibility, and this will be another big step for them this year. They have a freaking Martin Scorsese movie coming out this year as they take steps forward towards Oscar Gold. Not everybody thinks they should be eligible for Oscar Gold, though. One of the people very anti-Oscars for Netflix has been Steven Spielberg, of all people. Now, of course, he's a classic auteur, blockbuster director, one of the best of all time. But he has been very firm in his stance that Netflix should compete for Emmys, not Oscars. And I'll read a direct quote right here. Once you commit to a television format, you're a TV movie. You certainly, if it's a good TV show, deserve an Emmy, but not an Oscar. I don't believe films that are just given token qualifications in a couple of theaters for less than a week should qualify for the Academy Award nomination. Very controversial, very strong comments from one of the top directors of all time. Now, since then, he's kind of, not recanted, but kind of softened his comments. But those were the, straight out the gate, putting his opinion out there about Netflix. And usually that's the opinion that means the most. You know what I mean? Like that gut reaction one.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this is quite a debate that has been going on for years now. Jake, where do you stand on this? Should Netflix movies be eligible for Emmys or Oscars?
I think Spielberg's view on it is very black and white. I mean, if I was ever to somehow talk to him, I would probably just shake my head yes, because I'm not going to argue with Spielberg. But I think that's a very black and white view, because it's clearly a movie, and Netflix has movies on it. It's a streaming website, and as unbelievable of a director and mind as Spielberg has, I think he's missing something. Netflix started off as a television format. They are now advancing and, you know, adapting to the future. And I get the whole movies should be shown in the theater. Movies like Roma and Interstellar and Dunkirk and stuff like that should be on the big screen. They should be on the best format. I agree with all that. But if a different production company, or however you want to say it, produces something in a different format than you're used to, doesn't mean it doesn't qualify for, you know, movie awards. Like Roma is a movie. Alfonso Cuarón made it as a movie. It's not a television movie, but it easily could have been shown in a theater and been fine. It's not a TV movie like High School Musical or something like that. I think that's kind of insulting for him to, you know, call it a TV movie, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the qualifications are, but if it's a movie and it's a great one, let it be a movie. It's not hurting you, Spielberg. You've done very well for yourself and still are.
That's the thing that was weird about his tone, is it feels like he feels threatened. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
when you're in your 70s, you're already one of the greatest of all time. You're still doing well. Like, there's really no need for him to be so mad about this.
Right. Nate, what do you think about all this?
If I was to meet Spielberg, I would definitely push back a little bit. I don't understand the hate. So labeling something as a TV movie versus a film movie as something that qualifies for Emmys versus Oscars, it just sounds so overly pretentious and dumb to me. If you have a singular piece of media that is, let's say, arbitrarily over an hour long, you are qualified for the Oscars. That's at least my preference. And you could probably even make the argument that it can be shorter. And we already do have short films submitted to the Oscars. There are lots of things that I feel like aren't most commonly viewed on the big screen. Like, I bet you 99% of people that watch the Oscars don't watch their short films or the animated shorts in a theater. They watch them at home where they're available.
Yeah.
You know? As long as people see your content, that's what's important, because it's appreciating the art. So yeah, I don't agree with Spielberg here. I think that it's a very outdated way of looking at the world. The whole industry is moving towards streaming. Look how quickly Marvel movies get onto Netflix when they're out of theaters. People want to just watch movies. It doesn't matter where you watch them, it's how you can watch them.
Like, think about the production value of Marvel, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and those are all on television. It's not this outdated medium anymore. Spielberg has this idea, I think, of TV as like Cheers, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is way different than it was. Couple of things that you guys said that I kind of want to expand on that I think is interesting. Nate, you brought up a good point about watching the short films at home. But even for the Oscars, like, how many people just don't get a chance to go to the theater and they'll watch really important nominated films on screeners, on DVDs that they get?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make it less a movie.
Yeah. There are certain movies that are nominated that are only in theaters for 2 days.
Exactly. I do like the qualification for it to be nominated for the big awards. I do think it has to have gone to theaters for some amount of time. Like, I don't think it should be straight to streaming. You know what I mean? There should be at least an attempt at a theatrical run so that it could expand. But it doesn't invalidate it as a movie, even if it doesn't ever make it there. You know what I mean? Spielberg is missing a huge, huge point here. He's equating Netflix with a lesser quality. And that's not necessarily true. Right. Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, they exist so that more people can watch these movies. They're distributors. They buy things so that more eyes are attracted to the best possible movies. Well, how many people would have seen Roma if it was just an independently distributed film? Not as many people that saw it on Netflix, but it's an amazing film that deserved to have people's attention. There is a disconnect, I think, with the older audiences that they think that just because you can watch it at home as opposed to going to the theater makes it a lesser film. But that's just not how the economics of the freaking business work anymore.
I can almost guarantee people who don't go to the movies as often anymore will see the Best Picture nominees and go to their Apple TV and just rent a couple of them.
Times are changing, and just because a movie is owned by a streaming company does not make it streaming, fall asleep, and watch on your laptop quality. It seems like common sense to us, but it doesn't appear to be for an older generation.
Right.
Old man yells at cloud.
Exactly. Speaking of movies that old men like, because it is old, the original Aladdin. That was a C- transition.
Definitely bottom tier transition I've ever heard from you, Drew.
I saw the effort.
I was trying to do like the old motif. The original Aladdin is kind of old now. What is it, 26 years old? Something like that? 1992.
Ugh.
It's crazy. And Nate especially, I know he gasped there because it's one of his favorite movies. So it's getting the big screen treatment. And it's been a very contentious trip towards its May 24th release date. We finally got a full-length trailer. Let's take a listen.
I can make you rich. What would I have to do? There's a cave of wonders. Bring me the lamp.
Watch this.
Watch out! You done wound me up. You ain't never had a friend like me.
Hey, can you make me a prince?
There is a lot of gray area in Make Me a Prince.
Really? I thought a princess could go anywhere.
Not this princess.
Do you trust me?
Don't you dare close your eyes. Hold your breath, it gets better. Let me share this whole new world with you.
That was a snippet of the trailer for Aladdin, which is directed by Guy Ritchie, of course known for Snatch and Sherlock Holmes and the most recent King Arthur.
I forgot he was directing it.
I don't know how you could forget after watching that trailer because it's got a lot of the same camera motions.
Yeah, I just forgot he was behind it.
Right. Of course, the big change in the cast-wise, they actually went with an all-ethnic cast, which is good.
Yes.
Not a lot of whitewashing here, if any. Big change, of course, is that Robin Williams no longer can obviously play the genie because he tragically passed away. Will Smith replacing him. So that has gotten a lot of opinions on the internet as we turn back around to Will Smith for the second time in this news segment. Let's just jump right into this. And Nate, as a huge Aladdin fan, what did you think of this trailer?
Well, I will say this gave me a little bit more hope than the teaser trailer. Actually seeing the genie in motion gave me like glimmers of sunshine in what has been a fairly depressing next round of these live action reboots. If you're a longtime listener, I've made my opinions very clear. I do not like these movies. You don't need to retell stories that were already told perfectly the first time around. And you especially don't need to tell the story the exact same way. And that's what this still looks like to me in a lot of aspects, is just a watered down version, scene for scene, song for song. Let's just make the same thing that worked. So, highlights. We got to see more of Will Smith as a genie. I think at the very least, he will be fun. I've heard a lot of comparisons to the Broadway version, and Will Smith seems to be taking a lot of, maybe not intentionally, but just taking a lot of that side of the character, because those actors on Broadway didn't want to emulate Robin Williams just because you can't copycat a legend, period. Make your own version. So I think it's good that they're doing that. What I'm still not happy with, and I was definitely nervous after the teaser trailer, but just completely cemented here, is that Jafar seems so dull. He just speaks like a normal guy. Jafar was over the top evil and twisted, and it was so much fun between him and Iago. That was just so fun and iconic to the original. And this just seems so boring.
Yeah, he's like Arab Dinkelberg. Like,
ugh. We honestly didn't really get that much of Aladdin and Jasmine, and I'm a little worried that the acting there is going to be a little flat too, but it is only a trailer, so I'm not going to pose any judgment there. But yeah, it just seems so factory setting. Like, you press the quick select button, it prints out this movie.
So it's the Michael Bay formula then.
A little less explosion, a little bit more giant parrot.
Right, like the Michael Bay factory setting is when you take the printer and shake it, throw it out a window, and then it falls into a toxic vat of acid, and then it becomes Transformers The Last Night. So I think that's the comparison I'm running with there. Jake, what did you think?
Yeah, I liked Aladdin a lot as a kid as well. But as far as Will Smith goes, I don't think he's a bad choice either. It's just kind of like the go in knowing it's not going to be the original. Actually, that goes for the whole movie. Go in, know it won't be the original.
Literally.
Or maybe it will, just not as great. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems to be the original.
But I don't hate these live action movies like you guys do. I agree they're pretty unnecessary. But for me, there's still something semi-interesting about seeing them live action. You know, good graphics, good effects, different casting, stuff like that. But this one definitely looks more subpar than the other ones we've gotten. I don't think it looks bad. And I think this trailer is an improvement, but it definitely does not have me excited whatsoever. I actually forgot it was coming out until about a month ago.
Honestly, I wish it looked just outright bad. You know what I mean?
We have more fun with it.
The trailer we got around the time of the Grammys was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. Is this a high school play with Paul Giamatti from Big Fat Liar in it? Like, what? What am I watching here? This trailer, it doesn't look nearly as much of a disaster, but it just looks like the original movie. It almost looks like a sweeted trailer. Like somebody on the YouTube made like a fan version trailer of what a live action Aladdin would look like. And it's like, congrats, it looks like that. But like, who cares?
Did you say the YouTube? All right, Spielberg.
No, I'm still stuck on the Suicide Squad. So I'm adding extra thus, I think. I'm just mixing all of our news stories together. But like, what's really changed here? Like besides, of course, Robin Williams, which Will Smith, no matter what he does, and I have to admit there is a joke in the trailer that made me chuckle. The Prince joke was cute. But like, no matter what he does, he's going to pale in comparison to Robin Williams. But there's no differences, it appears. Difference isn't always better. Like Beauty and the Beast added like 40 minutes, and all of the 40 minutes they added was like absolute garbage. So I don't want them to do that. I would rather them stick to the story and just kind of be bland than add stupid stuff and make me stay there for 2.5 hours. But like, we found out today. We were like, okay, well, at least the parrot's not going to talk. That'll be different. And nope, the parrot's going to talk. Iago is going to be voiced by Alan Tudyk. And I mean, again, a solid choice for that. I'm not saying that outright all the decisions they've made are bad. It's the decision to make the movie in general that's stupid and just a cash grab.
Yes, ultimately it is a big cash grab.
My biggest complaint throughout all this, but with Aladdin especially, just because of the characters involved, the original animation is so iconic just because of how you can draw your characters emoting. Like, you can have such crazy dynamic reactions in a way that you cannot do with a regular human face. In the animated movie, when Aladdin or the genie's jaw drops, they can literally drop to the ground. Right. And that's fun and fantastic. In live action, all you can have is an actor's mouth open wide. It's not the same charm. And when you're taking all the fantastical elements of this story that a lot of people, including myself, have grown up with and loved, like converting an MP3 to an MP4, like it's not exciting.
Oh, now he's showing off. I know how to rewind the VCR, guys.
I'm just tired. I'm just so tired of these.
I'm looking at the poster right now, and it looks like they just stole the monkey from Pirates of the Caribbean and the tiger from the Jungle Book. The lost in translation of the facial expressions and everything you're talking about with like the human characters, that applies to these animals too. Like, is this Abu gonna be as fun?
Or the tiger sassy?
Right, the tiger's like, yeah, he's like his own character. I love that tiger. Ugh, stupid CGI tiger. Anyway, Aladdin comes out around Memorial Day weekend. We can decide for ourselves what we think of that in the upcoming months. So that'll do it for our news segment. What do you think about this Aladdin trailer? What do you think about Spielberg versus Netflix? What was a movie that you watched a lot when you were growing up? Please comment below. Please, if you have not added us on Facebook and Twitter, do that. Find us on all of the different podcast forums. If you are interested in listening to our Captain Marvel review, keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming soon. But for now, for Nate Lungarini and Jake Hensler, I'm Andrew Auger. Keep that seat warm, everyone. We'll be back soon.